Hey y'all, my name is Radhika or Rads. I use they, she pronouns, and this is part 2 of we will see of what the hell did I file at the Landlord Tenant Board. So you can check out the first part of this video series. I will link it through the ways that YouTube lets me do that. And in the last video, also, you know who it is. And if you don't, that's Students Against Rape Culture. The first video I spoke about just a little bit of context, I guess, leading up to, or context for this video and series and why I'm making it. And then that video mostly focused on the T1 application, and I also read out the retraction letter because the T1 was retracted. So you can check that out. I also in that video spoke a little bit about downtown legal services and some possible options for folks in the GTA for housing, legal support related to housing issues. And I also spoke about the N11 form, which is a mutual agreement to end a tenancy. So you can check that out. And yeah, this video is going to focus on the, like I said in the former video, the bulk of my application at the Landlord Tenant Board, which was 2 forms. A form T2, so that's application about tenants' rights, and then a form T6, tenant application about maintenance. It's a little bit long, so we might split this also into a few parts, but let's jump in. Kind of like in the first video, there's some just general questions asking for my information, the landlord's information, and then they also want to know when I moved into the rental unit, and since I no longer lived there when I was filing this, the move out date. So I moved in January 1st, 2019, and then I moved out April 30th, 2023. That means I paid $35,000 just in rent to that woman. Side note, $35,000 is apparently the maximum amount that you can request at small claims court. So just know that. And also at the LTB, at least when I was filing in 2023, it might be even worse now with the passing of Bill 60. You could only file for things that happened within the last year from the time of your filing. So yeah. Anyways, without further ado, so let's start with the T2. So this is the application about tenant rights. This is kind of what the form, oh my God, you cannot see. Never mind. The form, you can look at the Landlord Tenant Board website or portal in Ontario, and you can find all of these forms. Mine is filled out. The ones there will not be. But yeah, so I didn't file against other parties to the application, but technically could have, but doesn't matter. So reasons for filing this application, they have reasons that they outline, and just important information for all of us to know. So there are 7 reasons, and for reasons 1 through 5, the person who caused the problem could be the landlord, the landlord's agent, and or a superintendent. For reasons 6 and 7, a tenant, me, or you potentially, can only apply if the landlord was responsible and caused the problem. And for each reason selected, you need to describe the events that led you to apply to the LTB, and here are the questions they provide. What happened? What were the dates and times of said events? Who caused the problem? What were the names and titles, parentheses, such as superintendent, and parentheses, of all the people involved? So, reason 1, I selected this. My landlord, landlord's agent, and or superintendent entered my rental unit illegally. My further explanation. Kia. My landlord entered the unit illegally repeatedly. We never received 24-hour notice of these entries until the last week of my stay, when I, after just having learned it, reminded her of the law about landlords need to provide 24 hours notice if they're going to be coming down or coming into your space, and 48 hours notice if they're bringing like an agent or someone with them. Some examples of illegal entries would include her sister using our oven for a turkey on Thanksgiving. Another incident would be December 6th, when a friend of mine visited and Kia came down at 11 p.m. to tell us to go into my room instead of being in the outer area. That was 2022. Holy fuck. And on January 14th, when I returned to the country, I asked if she entered my room while I was gone, and she admitted to illegally entering and going through, as well as moving my things. On February 12th of 2023, it was a Sunday, she and her sister forced themselves into my room, and an employee of theirs made verbal and physical threats towards me. This is evidenced in document 1, page 25. Parentheses, she texted after hours about noise and then came down, end parentheses, pages 29 through 43 and pages 46 through 52. That's just in document 1. She attempted to change the locks on my door as well, also evidenced in these pages, but did not change the locks when I cited the law. Otherwise, I would have also filed for reason 2. Reason 2, I did not. Oh shit, but I actually should have, because I didn't realize she did straight up just change the door code and she uploaded evidence. So anyways, reason 2, my landlord's agent or superintendent changed the locks or the locking system to my rental unit or building without giving me replacement keys. Yes, she literally uploaded video from her Ring camera or some shit of me and my uncle on March 6th, or when I had signed the lease for this place, going in to try and retrieve my belongings, and it is dated and time-stamped, and you see that I cannot get in because she changed the door code, and then I kind of realized that, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. And then, like, yeah, she tried to say that it was proof of me and my friend, it was me and my uncle, damaging property, but anyways, reason 2, I did not use. Reason 3, I did. My landlord's agent, or superintendent substantially interfered with my reasonable enjoyment of the rental unit or my complex, or with the reasonable enjoyment of a member of my household. Explanation. She had an illegal no guest clause, document 3, page 19, and repeatedly entered the unit to police myself and other roommates in paternalistic ways. She refused to let us use the dishwasher in the unit and did not have adequate garbage disposal or fridge space, leading to an abundance of rotting food. The clothes washer also had mold in it. There were no fire alarms or carbon monoxide detectors in my room or in the basement unit at all, contrary to what I was led to believe when moving in. I expressed concern in late 2022, especially after a gas leak 2 days in a row. She refused to take me seriously at first about the second one, then admitted her sister left the gas stove on and left the house, and only eventually installed a fire alarm in late January 2023 after nearly 5 years of me renting there. She also switched the lights in the outer area to be motion sensor with no way to keep them on, making the unit nearly unusable, especially in the winter when there's already less light, and particularly in her basement where windows did not provide adequate light. The unit was so far underground I did not get reliable cellular service. Leading up to February 12th, my landlord kept harassing me about coming down without providing proper notice and would constantly change plans and then disregard my valid safety concerns when I needed to modify plans, as seen on pages 68 through 95 of document 1. On February 12th, my landlord, her sister, and an employee of theirs banged on and slammed my door, forced themselves into my room, and yelled at me and behaved in verbally and physically threatening ways. This badly triggered my CPTSD, as her employee also at one point lied and said I called my landlord a whore. A lie which was then repeated to other roommates and even my mother. This was further triggering to me, as a random stranger had actually called me this word at Morningside Crossing while I was waiting for my ride on September 27th, 2022. Which I told Kia and another roommate about, and mentioned both my anxiety and CPTSD as disabilities, to which Kia responded that I was, in quotes, not disabled or mentally ill, but just anxious, end quotes, which was incorrect and invalidating. To then weaponize this same language and pretend to be unaware of my disabilities, despite having known since at least 2020, was scary. To then further say she had no idea she was triggering my disabilities or that I had any was frustrating, as there was a witness for the conversation that I had mentioned previously, and I had repeatedly mentioned my disabilities, and in fact asked her to not invalidate them right before everything blew up February 12th. This is evidenced by pages 89 through 91 of document 1. Reason 4, I also did file with this. My landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent harassed, coerced, obstructed, threatened, and or interfered with me. Explanation. On February 12th, my landlord's behavior escalated into extreme harassment in the form of herself, an employee, and her sister illegally entering the unit, banging on my door, yelling at and threatening myself and a friend I was calling at the time on FaceTime, slamming my door, sweeping at my feet, and threatening to remove me, snapping and yelling at me to go back into my room and shut the door, and telling me to remember all they'd done for me. I felt extremely unsafe because of this and told my landlord this and asked to have a neutral witness present for future interactions. In the following days, she threatened me with illegal entries and continued to harass me via text, and even lied to other roommates and called my mother, who lives in another country, to say that I called her a whore and was disrespectful to her employees. She also withheld mail like my checks from Possibility Seeds for my work with Courage to Act for multiple months in an amount totaling $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,100. Yeah. Reason 5. I also filed with this one. So far, that's all the reasons, besides reason 2, even though I'm realizing now, and this is after, that I could have also filed with reason 2. But yeah, reason 5, my landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent withheld or interfered with my 1, vital services, such as heat from September 1st to June 15th, fuel, electricity, gas, hot and or cold water, and 2, care services and meals in my care home. So I did file for reason 5. Explanation. There were repeated issues with hot water as evidenced in several texts in document 1. As mentioned previously, she also switched the lights in the living room, shared space, and hallway areas to be motion sensor with no way to turn them on, to keep them on, thus making outside of our rooms unusable due to lack of consistent electricity. Reason 6. So remember, reasons 1 through 5, it can be the landlord or superintendent or an agent acting on their behalf. Reasons 6 and 7, only if it was the landlord. I filed reason, my landlord did not give me 72 hours to remove my property from the rental unit or from someplace close to it after the sheriff evicted me. Okay, I guess sheriff did not evict me, but she did not give me 72 hours. And just a note about reason 6, it says you can apply for remedies 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, and remedy 11 in part 3, specifically with regards to reason 6. Then reason 7, my landlord did not give me a written tenancy agreement for my care home unit or gave me an agreement that did not include information about my care services and meals and or the charges we agreed I would pay for them. If you're applying for reason 7, the only remedy you can select in part 3 is remedy 1. That does not apply to me or my case. Now, remedies. This is still the T2, so the application about tenants' rights. Remedy 1, the landlord must pay me a rent abatement. Requested rent abatement, this was on the advice of TLS, $1,000. My current rent is $700 at that place. Rent was paid monthly. If other, please specify. I didn't have anything there. Then they said, how did you calculate the rent abatement? I said, I would like to be compensated at least $1,000 for the repeated illegal entries, particularly the one she admitted to January 14th. I consulted with a legal representative from Downtown Legal Services who helped me to reach this number based on the several illegal entries and subsequent negative impact on my health and ability to feel and be safe in my rental unit. Related documents are referenced in Reason 1 above and in Document 1. That was Document 1's the 90-something pages of evidence, and that's Document 1 of 7. They're not all 90 pages. Remedy 2 did not apply to me, but and neither did remedy 3 or 4. So remedy 2 is the landlord, the landlord's agent, or superintendent must stop the activities described below. Remedy 3, the landlord must pay a fine to the LTB. Remedy 4, I want the LTB to end my tenancy on, and then you can put in a date. Remedy 5, I did select. So the landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent must pay me for the costs to repair or replace my property that was damaged, destroyed, or disposed of because of their actions. How was your property damaged, destroyed, or disposed of? List each item and the cost to repair or replace it. Said she moved my Fuji X film camera and damaged it. The lens broke off. The cost of this is around $70, and I am requesting $20 for repairs. In January, she entered my unit and moved or disposed of certain products in my bathroom in an amount totaling $15 to $20. She also took the motion sensor cameras I ordered from Amazon after confirming it was legal to place recording devices within my rental unit with a legal advisor. The cost of those was $72.31. I have attached the bill for this in PDF form. While evacuating her house, I also lost a childhood keepsake of mine, stuffed animal, which the Toronto airport staff was unable to recover. I would like to be compensated $50 for this. These expenses total $162.31. If the actions, this is a note from the LTB on the form, if the actions of the landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent cause you to move out of your rental unit, you can ask the LTB to include remedies 6 and or 7 in the order. Real quick on this, I could have filed a T5, which is basically saying that the landlord served me an illegal eviction notice, which is true. She did do that to myself and at least one other, but I think 2 other roommates, if not all of us. But DLS advised me to not file that and instead request these remedies. So remedy 6, my new rental unit has higher rent. This is true. The landlord must pay me the difference in rent between my old rental unit and my new rental unit for 1 year from the date that I moved out. Difference in rent is $1,800 on each month. If other, please specify. The total amount the landlord owes me then is $21,600. Remedy 7. The landlord must pay me for moving and storage expenses. These expenses total $84.53. How was this calculated? This is the cost of my U-Haul. As far as the costs referenced here and above, U-Haul is document 7, or labeled moving costs. Document 5 has the receipt for the stolen property mentioned above, and document 3 has the leases showing the difference in cost. Remedy 8. I had or will have out-of-pocket expenses resulting from the actions of the landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent. The landlord, landlord's agent, or superintendent must pay me for these expenses. These expenses total $3,495.95. How did you calculate this? Due to the continued harassment, I left the unit February 16th, 2023, and stayed in hotels from February 16th through 20th when I was meant to fly out but was unable to fly out due to extreme exhaustion and anxiety stemming from the events of February 12th through 20th. Events of February 12th and continued harassment. This is the cost of my hotel from February 17th through 20th, first at the Annex Hotel and then Chelsea Hotel. I also had to stay in an Airbnb unit from February 27th to March 31st when I moved into my new unit, but I am only asking for compensation for the hotels. And even though I started sleeping here at the end of March, I could not actually go back and get my belongings till the end of April. That was not a fun time. I had an abortion Friday, then 2 days to move out of my place. And also my visa was going to expire. And then I found out I had ADHD. But I'm glad I know. Anyways, we are almost done. So, when I moved into my new unit, but I'm only asking for compensation for the hotel. It's not the Airbnb. Annex Night 1 is in US dollars. It is $185.98 US dollars to Canadian dollars on the date in question. That would be $248.63 in Canadian currency. Annex Night 2 is $282.05 plus 42 and another 5 cents. Chelsea from February 18th through 20th is $514.64. Chelsea from February 21st through 22nd, $248.93. Chelsea overall bills from the 22nd through the end total $2,159.65. This is all compiled in document 4 labeled out-of-pocket costs. This number was calculated with the Canadian currency amount I calculated for USD as listed above, calculated on August 8th, 2023. If you were applying to the LTB because the landlord, their agent or superintendent changed the locks or the locking system without giving you replacement keys, reason 2, you can ask the LTB to include Remedy 9 in the order. Remedy 9, the landlord must allow me to move back into the rental unit and must not rent the unit to anyone else. Is the unit vacant? I don't know. If you're applying to the LTB because the landlord did not let you get your property after the sheriff evicted you, reason 6, you can ask the LTB to include Remedy 10 in the order. Remedy 10, I didn't use these, but Remedy 10 is the landlord must return all my property that the landlord possesses or that the landlord can get back from other people. Remedy 11, I want the LTB to order other remedies. I have described those remedies below. What else do you want the LTB to order, then, is the question. This is another almost over 20-minute long video. So that was my T2 application on application about tenant rights. I'm not going to show you all the documents of evidence, but DLS thankfully helped me compile that, helped me put together the page numbers. It was a lot of files and screenshots. My other advice is keep notes or keep track of everything, keep records of everything. Also, don't do it all on your phone. Invest in some cloud storage because it is going to clog up your phone, and also when it pops up in featured, you're like, oh yes, the time I was homeless, and it's not the most fun. But yeah, part 2.5 will be about the T6 application. So again, ooh, that is tenant application about maintenance. And then I will make another video that actually talks about, I guess, my experience reflecting on it after filing and going through. Also, there was an October 2024 date. Mess. And yeah, fuck the landlords. Food Not Rent. Check out Poor Magazine also, and Poverty Scala. Yeah, Homefulness the World, Unsell Mama Earth, and fuck Doug Ford. Bye.